Good morning. We'll call the City of Oxnard Public Works and Transportation Committee to order.
Yeah, it's on. He's just not close enough.
Good morning. We'll call the Oxnard City Council Public Works and Transportation Committee to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Member Flynn is absent. Member McDonald?
Here.
Chair Perrello?
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall kiosk on Tuesday, January 21st.
We'll have a flag salute, and Mr. Rodriguez would lead us, and Mr. Flynn has just come here. We'll have a moment of silence. We did lose a past mayor, but I would like to also announce, in my opinion, the press is a significant part of this world, and this country specifically, and we lost a terrific newsman in Jim Lair this last week, and I'd like to have a moment of silence.
Ready to begin? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I see no public comment cards, speaker cards. Okay. We'll move to the consent agenda. Have the members had an opportunity to read the minutes? Do we have a
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes. This next item, reports. Item number one, Public Works, amending the enterprise fleet management agreement and restructuring the fleet services division. The recommendation, can we have the staff please read the recommendation? Thank you.
Good morning, Committee Chair, Committee members. Brian Yanas, Assistant Public Works Director. Before I get started with this presentation today, I just want to mention that through this process of amending this agreement with Enterprise, there will be no layoffs in the Fleet Services Division. So I just wanted to make that a point before I get started here. So again, we're amending Enterprise Fleet, a current agreement that we have, number 8136, and restructuring of Fleet Services Division. The recommendation is that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a first amendment to agreement number 8136 with Enterprise Fleet Management Incorporated Enterprise. Also to increase the current contract value from $675,000 by $1,825,000 for a total of $2.5 million. Also to extend the term through December 1st, 2025. Authorize Public Works Fleet Services Division to enroll approximately 375 city-owned vehicles into Enterprise's maintenance management program and all new leased or city-owned vehicles that qualify for the maintenance program. Eliminate 3 staff positions from Fleet Services Division, and then authorize city departments to utilize current vehicle replacement funds for leasing or future leasing. We have an executive summary, we have a little bit of background and some discussion, and then we have a financial impact statement. Vehicles and equipment have historically been purchased and owned by the City of Oxnard. Most of our fleet is aging, and the city doesn't have adequate funding for a vehicle replacement program. Staff is doing more maintenance, which is not cost effective, and there are times that we are maintaining a vehicle beyond the purchase price. A leasing and maintenance program can reduce operating costs, maintenance, repairs, fuel, and staffing. The implementation of a leasing program will offer the city the ability to have more modern vehicles and newer technology and safety features. The police department currently utilizes this contract. They lease approximately 36 vehicles and have been doing so for the last 8 years. Water, wastewater, and fire and environmental resources have adequate funding to lease vehicles at this time and will begin to lease with this contract, providing savings to the ratepayers. The current city's in-house administrative fee is $97.01. Enterprise will perform the same function that the administrative fee does for the city for $6 per vehicle per month, saving in the administrative fee approximately $410,000. Loss of productivity when a vehicle is at the city garage is difficult to quantify, but could be significant, and we'll monitor that through the contract. Vehicles needing an oil change can be in a shop for a full day or more, depending on the current workload of staff. With Enterprise, the employees assigned to a vehicle have the option to utilize a variety of shops, such as a Jiffy Lube style shop, and be back on the job rather quickly. The city is currently paying for all overhead. Utilizing a private garage, the city only pays for the overhead attributable to the vehicle being worked on. All shops that we send our vehicles to will be located in the city, which keeps tax dollars local and provide residents with jobs. There are some things that the private sector can do more affordably and efficiently than local government. Due to budget constraints over the past several years, including deferred vehicle purchasing, the police department continues to use Enterprise to replace aging vehicles with new ones and more efficient ones. The most recent contract was approved by City Council in July 2019, which was a 3-year contract. The original agreement was a piggyback through Sourcewell. Sourcewell released a request for proposals in June 2018 nationwide to states such as Oregon, California, Utah, Minnesota. The current contract through Sourcewell is valid through July 2022. However, they are working on renewing this contract, which will extend beyond the 22 and cover our extended term of 2025. 80% of the city fleet is over 10 years old. I'd like to say that one again, but I won't. The city fleet typically operates vehicles for more than 14 years, resulting in increased repairs, maintenance, and fuel costs. A lease and maintenance program with Enterprise is a better approach that will reduce costs, increase efficiency, and enhance overall safety of the city's fleet. This table is a breakdown of the 375 vehicles that will be enrolling into the maintenance program. We have 65 vehicles 1 to 5 years old, 64 6 to 10, and 136 11 to 15 years old, and 97 16 to 20. And we have 13 that are 21 to 30 years of age. So our average vehicle age roughly is about 14 years. Without a replacement program and adequate funding, the city fleet continues to age beyond its useful and cost-effective life. Some of these vehicles lack modern safety devices, have reduced fuel efficiency, and cost more to maintain and operate with each passing year. Many vehicles need to be replaced to ensure the city's fleet remains safe and efficient while mitigating increasing repair and maintenance costs. Leasing is a cost-effective way to add more hybrids and/or electric vehicles to save on fuel and reduce the city's carbon footprint. The city currently does not fund a comprehensive vehicle replacement program, so the leasing opportunity gives us the ability to lease these efficient vehicles. Fleet Services currently maintains and manages the city's 917 vehicle and equipment fleet, valued at over $42 million. Fleet Services does preventive maintenance and comprehensive inspections, as well as performing light to heavy repairs. Fleet is also involved in the procurement process and disposition of city vehicles. Currently, Fleet has 28 full-time employees, and 21 of those are mechanics. The lease cycle for most vehicles is typically 60 months. At the end of the lease cycle, the city will have an option to keep using the vehicle or exchange the equity for a new replacement vehicle. And depending on the department's needs, we can lease a vehicle from 12 months to the 60 months. So that'll depend on each individual department. The most efficiency for us and the bang for your buck is the 60 months. Enterprise will administer a maintenance program for the city-owned vehicles for a fixed monthly fee of $6 per vehicle, as discussed earlier, and that includes 24-hour roadside assistant. Maintenance will be outsourced to local vendors, and repairs will be invoiced to the city based on work performed. Enterprise has a network of repair facilities across the nation, including shops in Oxnard. And I have listed 27 shops that are in Oxnard, and there's other additional shops surrounding Oxnard. And Enterprise is committed to meet our needs, and if we need other vendors, they will definitely look into that for us. Newly leased vehicles will also be delivered to dealerships in Oxnard in order to support local businesses and retain tax benefits. The enterprise call center is staffed with automotive service excellence, ACE certified mechanics who will review repair estimates to ensure that the repair quotes are consistent with nationwide standards. Enterprise fleet management software will allow staff to view individual vehicle life cycles and maintenance records in one location and view critical data in customizable dashboards. The software also has an app that people can use on their phone, will help you check out vehicles, record mileage, request location of local shops, schedule repairs, and get roadside assistance. Leasing the enterprise offers a wide array of vehicle acquisition and leasing methods for vehicles under 25,000 pound gross vehicle weight GVW. So the approximately 375 vehicles, as discussed earlier, are eligible and will be immediately enrolled into the maintenance management program. Includes services for account management, vehicle maintenance, and option of telematics vehicle data, which is basically your GPS. For newly leased vehicles, Enterprise will cover all maintenance costs and expense at a monthly rate of $75 to $90, depending on the vehicle. So with that lease on top, we can pay this additional funds to fully have a vehicle maintained. This maintenance also comes with preventive maintenance, unscheduled maintenance, as well as towing, 2 sets of brakes, and 4 tires through the lease period. Staff will continue to evaluate and enroll vehicles that qualify during this contract. So there are more vehicles we have in fleet, but at this time, there's 375 that we're enrolling, but we're looking to enroll as many as we can that are eligible for the program. Enterprise will auction off old vehicles with any proceeds either returning to the city or used as credit toward leasing a replacement vehicle. The leasing of vehicles result in cost savings and fleet enhancements over purchasing vehicles. The open-end lease option will allow for a proactive replacement plan, simplify funding structure, and assist with annual budget planning. Staff will evaluate the program annually to assess level of service, cost, customer service, vehicle needs, and maintenance turnaround time. Working with Enterprise staff, they'll also help us create these plans, and the data that they have on maintenance will help us look at leasing for each budget cycle. Administrative benefits, Enterprise will be the title holder until term for vehicle management services and resale. Currently, we do that in-house. Enterprise will provide automatic license and registration servicing, toll and ticket management, access to maintenance website, and local account team for day-to-day services. Operational benefits, Enterprise will coordinate logistics for moving vehicles in and out of service. Enterprise will also provide aftermarket and decal services, safety recall management, access to fuel programs. Telematics, again, it is GPS. That comes at an additional fee. Mobile application for drivers to access for all vehicle operational needs. Enterprise will research best vehicle options and prices. Equity from sale of a vehicle can be used towards future vehicles. Enterprise will provide vehicle incentive management, access to enterprise remarketing services for max resale, ACE certified techs to manage maintenance expense, gold certified claim handling for lower accident repair costs, and proceeds from the sale of a given vehicle can be used as credit toward future vehicles that we may lease. Additional benefits, leasing will optimize cash flow, allow the city to replace more vehicles with less upfront capital. There's no mileage restrictions, no normal wear and tear charges, no early termination penalties. The city will retain equity in vehicles. There will be a flexibility of term based on each vehicle's application of use and mileage patterns. The annual saving with Enterprise, again, with the administrative fee, is approximately $410,000, which will benefit all departments. The estimated savings is $315,000 for the general fund. As a result of these 375 vehicles enrolling into the maintenance program with Enterprise, we're looking at a reduction in fleet positions. Again, no layoffs with this reduction. The impacted mechanic, that part of the elimination, has been offered a choice of multiple position that he qualified for and will be placed prior to the recommended cuts, the date of the recommended cuts, which is the February 18th council meeting. The table below outlines the savings from the deleted positions. We have the mechanic 1 at $100,000, the vacant senior mechanic at $110,000, and a vacant supervisor at $120,000 for a total of $330,000. So again, the total cost savings that we're looking at is approximately $740,000, which includes the direct labor and the administrative fee of approximately $410,000. The remaining mechanics will continue to provide excellent services to fire, police, environmental resource, and other vehicles, equipment not enrolled in the maintenance program. Human Resources notified the union as follows: by phone, November 5th, 2019. A formal letter was sent November 6th, conducted a meet and confer on November 12th, and we held an additional meeting on December 5th with union representative and shop steward to discuss the proposed reduction. The one mechanic whose position will be eliminated was notified December 6th. The employee was also provided with multiple positions within the city that he qualified for. And again, no layoffs with this proposed amendment to the enterprise agreement. And recently, as of Monday, which was yesterday, an offer letter was sent to this individual employee to take a position as a water meter in the Water Division Department.
Question, please.
Sure.
Was there a bumping required with that?
There was no bumping through this process.
Thank you very much.
So we have did I skip? Oops. Where did I go here? I got figure happy. Oopsie. Get me to page like 30, something in there. Stop, yeah, perfect. So we have a transition. So our goal with enterprise and along with public works staff is to have a smooth and seamless transition. The following is what expected for the first 12 months of the contract. So months 1 and 2, establish a credit line, review and customize customer website and billing codes, hold training webinars or in person if we have to roll out to do the rollout to ensure familiarity with the programs in the mobile app. Months 3 and 11, monitor utilization of the programs, set up additional trainings as needed, discuss partnership quality to ensure we are meeting expectation, identify replacement plan, revisit replacement strategy for existing fleet, and month 12, which will be the 1 year when we're into it, is analyze the expense summary, the savings and efficiency opportunity exploration, industry update, and next year's fleet plan and development. The leasing has benefits by optimizing cash flow, lower upfront costs, reduce monthly expenses, no loan or debt, flexibility, ability to add and remove vehicles easy to meet changing needs, reduce maintenance costs, newer vehicles require less maintenance, savings through reduction in staffing. Again, the combined savings with the administrative fee and the direct labor is $740,000 with $315,000 in general fund savings. Indirect savings will be determined after a full year of participating in the leasing and maintenance programs. Unique vehicles such as water distribution trucks, wastewater trucks will likely cost more due to specialized components and makeup of the vehicle, but Enterprises has all that, so we can continue to have those trucks or lease those trucks from Enterprise. Departments that currently have vehicle replacement funds can use these funds to lease vehicles if approved, and departments will be required to have enough funding to lease a vehicle for 5 years. That concludes the presentation. Open for any questions you may have.
I have no public speaker cards on this. I would just like to make a statement first on this. I really appreciate this presentation. I really, really appreciate the way that you handled the issue about how this impacted employees in the staff report, in the major staff report, and what you explained. Set a high standard. I hope we can continue to stay there. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I was in the car business for a while, and one of the things about that you learn very quickly as a salesperson is that the profit in car sales is largely in leasing, not in outright selling a brand new car. There's a very low profit margin for dealers, and they make most of their money on getting people to come back and get the car repaired. And also, when we entered into the contract for Fire Station number 8, it was a design-build contract, and there was not an option to purchase. It was only a leasing ability. So I don't know how leasing in this context compares to an overall cost savings, but my question is that, and I understand that the primary issue that the city has had with fleet management has been not having a savings account set aside for reinvesting in replacing vehicles. That's like really the primary issue, that each and every year we just didn't have a budget for it. So I guess my question here is that I see, and you have established your case, that there's substantial savings over what we're doing now, but my question is that when we look, if we go back to the age of the vehicles just for a second.
Oh, shoot.
And I could just say it without us even looking, but we could take a look at that. That might help us a little bit. Okay. So we have these cost savings because if we're not have to worry about maintenance of the vehicles and oil change, all these other things, then we're having substantial savings. But if we look at the vehicle ages, especially the 11 to 15 years, the majority of the vehicles, 136 vehicles, my question would be, if we had the capital, which we don't, and that's why maybe leasing right now is an option, but at some point if we had the capital to invest in a fleet, and we had the vehicle ages were, we had some policy saying no vehicle will go over X amount of miles or over 5 years. And I'm just looking at, I don't know what the best practices are in this regard, but if the vehicles were newer vehicles, would this issue of less maintenance, overall cost savings be more advantageous than leasing? And the only reason I'm asking that question is I was in car sales, and that's where all the money was, leasing.
I'm going to field that question. Mr. Mayor, thank you. So the best practice across cities is to go towards leasing, and there are several reasons. So I'm glad you asked to bring up this graph. This is perfect. So you see everything beyond 10 years old, that's the bulk of our fleet. Besides for the economics of this, one of the really significant advantages of doing this is you're getting the up-to-date safety technology. Right? I question older cars whether their airbags even work. And some of these, I don't know if any of these even have, some of these may not have airbags. I don't know. I've worked in other cities where we were, because it's the nature of things where we just use equipment as long as we can. There are some other cities that were using pickup trucks that didn't have any airbags, right? It's just not cool. So overall, given the rapid change of the safety technology, it is actually wiser to go to this system where our staff routinely get the most updated safety technology in the vehicles that they're using for work. To the question of if we had the financial wherewithal, should we furbish a fleet on our own? Again, given the changing technology, I think the best practice now is to go with this system where we're getting modern cars at a routine cycle, because if we're purchasing, we would be back in the old routine of running these vehicles literally into the ground for over 10 years, and in some cases to over 20 years. So that, I think this is actually a better practice. And again, as long as the economics works.
Yeah.
In addition.
And that's what I just want to say to the committee members, and I appreciate that explanation. I know that, like for the private sector, there are, if you're, say, a salesperson and you lease a vehicle, there might be tax advantages to doing that. I mean, I've heard that often, but I've never, I mean, I'm just still really curious about, and I appreciate also the safety discussion on the technology, and that when we're getting newer and newer vehicles, that we're getting safer vehicles all the time, and maybe even more fuel-efficient vehicles, which is very important. So I don't know. I just it's quite fascinating, the presentation. I'm just happy that we were able to avoid the layoffs. That's a great thing. That's to really highlight the positive aspects of this presentation. Is we were able to avoid the layoffs. We consulted with the unions, which is very good, and we're moving towards cost savings, albeit the fact that more of the cost savings is in non-general fund, but still, general fund savings, $300-some thousand. That's very positive. So thank you very much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Just a quick comment, a quick question. I think this is an excellent plan. I like this. When I first started driving, which was a few years back, I did a lot of my own engine work. Todd, you don't have to nod your head. It's okay. And we did all our own mechanic work. But back then, when you wanted to figure out what was wrong with your car, you needed points condenser or whatever. You had a missing spark plug. You reached in and grabbed all the wires until you got shocked, and that told you which wire was bad and needed to be replaced. It was a much more simpler time. Now with all the electronics that are in there, and I had this happen on my car, the touch screen went out. Well, that's related to 5 other computers within my car, and everything stopped working. And I had no clue, and it was about a $2,000 fix. Is Enterprise going to, if the big ticket items like that, they go out, is Enterprise covering those also, or?
You know what? I didn't ask for electronics, but we do have a representative, Linda Fullerton from Enterprise, here with us in the audience.
I'm just curious because the way the cars are now, if one piece of electronics
but
goes out, it tends to.
For my understanding, it's a full maintenance coverage for the vehicle if we're into the full maintenance. But yeah. Yes.
Hi, I'm Linda Fullerton with Enterprise Fleet Management. So the full maintenance program that Brian referenced, which is for your newer vehicles, that does cover all mechanical repairs for the vehicle, whether it's the manufacturer recommended services or anything unexpected. So the engine, transmission, air conditioning, the touchscreen, electronics, anything mechanical that goes wrong with the vehicle is covered for the full maintenance program.
Excellent, thank you. That's typically the high-ticket items when
Yes.
those systems go out. I think it's a good program. Depending on the size of the department within the city, vehicle maintenance costs can be pretty onerous to a smaller budget. So I support this 100%. So thank you for the response.
Great. Thank you.
May I ask a question before you leave?
Yes.
Anything mechanical? What else is there?
So air conditioning, the engine, transmission, all your manufacturer recommended services, so everything that the manufacturer recommends should be done is covered under full maintenance. Towing is covered under the full maintenance program to the local dealership. And so anything that fails on the vehicle.
So the item about the brakes and the tires, the normal wear and tear windshield wipers, that's
So
on
yeah,
us.
so with brakes and tires, in the program, there are 2 sets of brakes included and 4 tires included as part of that, which should be more than enough to cover in the event someone goes through a 3rd set of brakes, and that would just be billed back to the city as it
Thank you very
occurs.
much. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
This sounds fantastic. Again, I really appreciate that the employer was able to find this spot. But in the scheme of things, in the scheme of things, we got to look out for the city. We're not looking out for individuals. We're looking out for the city of Oxnard. It's made up of over 200 and close to 50,000 people. But I'm grateful that this has worked out, and I'm really, again, grateful the way you made the presentation. Whoever was responsible for this, I hope they get an attaboy from who's ever their boss. The questions I have with this,
Team
we
effort.
have other pieces of equipment. We have, I believe, a boat. We've got trailers. I don't know if we have any, we have some tractors. Are they going to be covered into this program?
No, the equipment, like lawnmowers, trailers, will still remain under the fleet jurisdiction. Anything that rolls and has an engine, we can enroll them into the maintenance program. So again, we'll be enrolling 375, and we'll be looking at other eligible vehicles that we can put into the maintenance program.
40% of the vehicle, 40% of our fleet going into this at one shot's a big deal, and that's a compliment. The question that the city manager brought up about the safety, knowing that we have potentially vehicles that don't have airbags, is that going to, and we do replace them out, will it lower our insurance risks, or is our risk department looking at what the extra costs are for having potentially, do we check that stuff? If I'm one of 2 employees and I get the truck without the airbag versus the truck with the airbag, do I raise more cane with my union? How do we cover ourselves with that?
My example was from a prior city that I worked in. I have no idea if we have any vehicles here without airbags.
Okay,
Just to be clear.
yes. The GPS and the tracking, it's an extra cost to us, but does the city monitor the GPS, or is the GPS monitored, we pay the extra cost so that Enterprise can find out where the cars are?
We currently have some GPS in some of our vehicles now, and so it's up to the individual departments to monitor that, and that will remain the same. We'll just pay for that GPS through Enterprise if we choose to use their services for that.
Okay. The shops that the Enterprise is recommending there's going to be work taking to, those are highly qualified mechanics working on this?
They have been pre-vetted through Enterprise. They're authorized mechanics and shops, and that's why they're on the list, and that will go by that list. Again, and there was 27 shops in Oxnard within our city limits, and there was a few more, probably like 6, 8 more just outside of our city limits. But I think that's plenty to handle our fleet that would be utilizing these shops.
And just 2 more questions. I like the aspect of, okay, you're going to know when the car's got to be serviced, and you can have the employee drive the car right to the place, and they used Jiffy Lube as an example. Boom, change oil, get back out. We don't waste a lot of time. How much in advance do we monitor that? How much in advance does the department head get to know, I got 2 cars that got to have the oil changed, within a day or within a week?
So it's going to be very similar to what we do now. Fleet Services does notify the individual driver or the department that, hey, your car needs to come into service. So it's not a drop dead date. It's you come in this week, come in next week, but your car needs to be serviced. You're at that point, and then it'll be the same notification through Enterprise via app or through their system to tell these departments.
And being the department heads will monitor that, that's up to the city's management to monitor the department heads are doing their job appropriately.
Yeah, I think there's, through this transition, those kind of things are going to be worked out, the communication and how we're going to commingle with Enterprise, our current existing Fleet Services division. So again, hopefully we'll have a smooth transition. Those individuals that currently have vehicles, a lot of it's going to stay the same, besides they're not going down to Pacific to get their car fixed. They'll just be going to a different location.
Okay, and the last, we talked about the transition and how it works. This will, as the transition is going along, the city manager may answer this one. There's going to be a report coming back to council telling us how this is working versus coming to the anniversary date?
Well, no, excuse me. It would be, can you bring back the slide? I think it was 21 or something that talked about our review process. Right there. Go back. 21. See? No, 21.
Oh,
Yeah. The other
yeah.
21.
It's
There you go. So right there, see the second bullet, sir?
Yep.
So we should do it at the end of the first year, but that's what you should expect to come back to you.
Okay.
That second bullet right there, that's basically the report card that we've set out for ourselves.
So we'll use a year because we get enough history.
Right, we have to have
Okay.
enough data.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's my question. This is a great idea. Based on the financial situation the city's in, I don't see we have a lot of options, and I'm grateful that there's somebody looking forward. So, staff, thank you very much for looking forward to this thing.
Second. Yep.
We have a motion. Did you make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman McDonald and second by Mr. Councilman Flynn. Just roll call vote. All 5 at once.
All at once.
All at once.
Member McDonald?
Aye.
Member Flynn?
Aye.
Chair Perrello.
Yes.
The motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. The next item, Public Works, subject, proposed plan to solicit bids for the local landfill. And there's a recommendation, if staff would read recommendation, please.
Good morning, committee members. Todd Housley, Environmental Resources Division Manager for Public Works Department. Recommendation to the committee today is that you receive a presentation and provide input on the proposed plans to solicit bids from local landfills. Before I get into the discussion, this is a slide that demonstrates how most of our material is processed at the Del Norte facility. I don't want to turn this off, so which one is the pointer? This is a new one. Is it the top one? The laser pointer. Oh. Okay. It needs to go back, please. Thank you. I'll use. There you go. See that? Which button you push? The top. Got it. It looked like an off button. I didn't want to stop the show. Thank you. Okay. So there's a lot of arrows here for key points of our processing of material at the Del Norte facility. But the biggest thing to take from this is we're going to be looking at landfill contracts, so I'm going to concentrate more on how our solid waste is received, processed, and transferred to our local landfills. So everybody comes in from Sturgis, they weigh in at the weigh station here. If you have trash, solid waste-rich loads, you're sent to this side of the facility, which is the main tipping floor. This is where we handle our solid waste. We do some separation in that area of recyclables or other divertible material. Those materials that are removed further from the waste stream that are recyclable will go to this side of the facility where we do further sorts for final product for sale on the global recyclables market. These two ports here, trucks enter from this side, line up, and that's where our solid waste is pushed into those vehicles. The vehicles leave, and then they go to 2 contracted landfills. I can answer, yes.
Can you just explain? They basically are below surface.
Yes.
Yeah,
if you look on the left here, there's a arrow, shows a truck just going into the our tunnel, loading tunnel, and then they line up under here, and there's a series of scales, communication with the dispatcher so that there's coordination and safety and we don't overload the trucks. From that point on, they exit back onto Sturgis and go to one of our 2 contracted landfills. The Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station, it is a regional facility, so we don't just take waste from Oxnard, we take it from the entire West County area. We're permitted currently to accept over 2,700 tons per day. On current material rates, we receive, process, and transfer an average of 1,100 tons of solid waste. That's the material that goes to the landfill. This material must be transferred daily to permitted landfills. That is a permit requirement. The only exception is if we get a delivery on Saturday because we're closed on Sunday and the landfills are closed on Sunday, that material will carry over to Monday. We have 2 landfill agreements negotiated in 2013, and they both expire on November 14th of 2020. Toland Road Landfill, agreement number A5903 with Ventura Regional Sanitation District, VRSD. That's contracted disposal of 48% of our daily solid waste transferred from Del Norte to Toland Road Landfill in Santa Paula off of the 126 freeway. The second agreement running concurrently is Simi Valley Landfill, agreement number A7618. That's with Waste Management Incorporated for disposal of the remaining 52% above the 48% at contracted with Toland Road Landfill. Both agreements allow for Consumer Price Index, CPI, adjustments annually. We're starting this process as an interactive process with this committee and at the staff level to start evaluating how we're going to look at an RFP and receiving bids that need to be in place by November 15th of 2020. As you all know, you were all here in 2013 when we voted to take over the Del Norte facility. So significant changes have taken place since we negotiated these contracts. February 1st, 2014, direct operation of the facility by the city. 2016, state mandates on commercial and organic recycling started to take effect, and deadlines started to get closer and closer for actual implementation where penalties could be assessed if we were not compliant. 2016 to present, severe, that's the right word for this, continuing decline in the recyclables market. That's a global problem that has actually closed a lot of businesses and has changed the entire trade in a lot of commodities. We also have additional federal and state regulations for vehicle emissions, which ties into the prior presentation as well. So as you can see, there's many different factors that exist today that did not exist in 2013. So staff is looking at a two-step process, which might be encompassed due to time restrictions in one bid package. But we're going to look at this from two different steps. A pre-qualification step. Again, these are ideas that we're exploring. We're going to have a consultant come in and help us take a look at these, but at this point, these are the options that we need to vet. Financial viability of the agency operating any landfill. Facility permit. Want to make sure that they are permitted to take our waste and maximum truck trips. Were there any violations in the past? If so, how did they handle them and resolve them with the regulatory agency? Are there any legal issues with the agency? Operations. This is very important to us because there's the dollar signs you see up here, the hard dollar signs for truck trip per ton or whatever, but then time is money in the amount of time it takes to transfer this waste, so we have to balance that into the equation. The location of these facilities, how close are they to Del Norte? What are the turnaround times? The potential terms of the new agreements, making sure we have clearer definition of terms for subjects like what does closure mean, what does acts of God, wind events, other things that cause a facility to close. We really need to dial that in further because of the two fires that have affected us since 2013 when these were negotiated. We also want the responsible party from the bidding agency to attest to what they're presenting, just to make sure that we have that extra step that they are actually able to perform in the manner that they have responded on the bid. So the second step we're looking at is how are we going to structure the bid solicitation? You know, we all know we're looking for the lowest cost. Most of the time we want the best value, lowest responsive bidder. When you're dealing with multiple agencies with a landfill, you have variables like transportation. Costs might be more to go to one facility. It might be less time to go to another. We have to consider all of those factors. So up here are some suggestions and options we're looking at for possible bid terms. These could change, but we're looking at how are they going to respond and how are we going to evaluate and finally award these. So you have the basic lowest bidder. We're probably going to have 3 viable bidders on this. Do we take the lowest bidder and then the second and third as backup? Do we split tonnage in different percentages among the 3? Or do we split between lowest bidders and have a backup bidder for a landfill that is further away, just to make sure we have a backup for that? We have to consider all of these things. And there's also a chance to look at an equal split. So at this point, bringing this item to the committee, there's no financial impact. However, as we get down the road, we will incur the cost of consultant interaction and the staff time involved in finalizing the contracts once we get to that point. So that's the end of my presentation. I can accept any questions at this time.
Todd, can you put it back to slide 7 so the committee can review these items with us?
Open for questions at this time.
I see no public comment. Guards? Question? You want to go first? Mr.
Why don't we start with Council?
Thank you for the presentation. I'm glad you mentioned that there will probably only be 3 people interested in this, because I can only think of 3 landfills, and 2 in Ventura County, 1 in LA County. And, you know, the one in LA County might be a little less expensive, but getting there is going to be a lot more expensive, even though it's a direct trip, so. But I think it's nice to have options in case something cataclysmic does happen that closes 1 or 2 of the local facilities. We need somewhere to go. I guess, and this is thinking in the long range, but I think eventually we're going to be without any landfills. We have to have a whole new system of refuse processing, or whatever you want to call it. So not an easy solution, but I think this is a good approach to where we need to be. So thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. For a short time, I was on the BRSD, and I remember when we had these contracts, we had these discussions about why, in fact, we were splitting up our trash among multiple entities, right? And I believe now, of course, it's only Toland and Santa Paula, and then the Simi Valley landfill, correct?
Currently, that's correct.
And so the idea was we wanted to make sure that to assure that there was competition. And so we wanted to promote competition, obviously for the purposes of keeping prices lower. And I remember we debated extensively Los Angeles County and taking our trash down the 118, if I'm not mistaken, and also, you know, possibilities of rail and those types of things. And it just came down to 2 landfills, how we distribute our trash. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I'm thinking back a long time, but the vast majority of our trash goes to Toland, is that correct? And then maybe 2/3, and then 1/3 goes to Simi?
An assessment looking backwards shows an average of about 60% going to Simi and 40 going to Toland.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I guess my you know, so if competition is still an objective, I think that's important to talk about. But I'm really wondering, in the context of trying, you know, mobility in particular, the city manager is a topic that he's very interested in. We spoke then about rail and the possibility of rail. Could you discuss that? Because I know we have rail spurs that go right behind the facility. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Talk about that. I mean, I haven't refreshed myself on any of those possibilities because I know that, you know, a substantial cost that we pay is to haul the trash to these, you know, these 2 locations. And if we were to consider LA County, we would be going even further. So what are the possibilities when it comes just to mobility, how to get that trash to and from the landfill?
You brought up rail, so I'll start speaking to that. The good news is, in the long term, you planned well. There's a rail spur there. When the industry does, as Councilmember McDonald says, close landfills, that will probably happen in California before it does in other states, just due to the regulation. Rail will become more viable. As it is right now, it's not a viable option because we have landfills that are near us.
I see. And I just want to mention to the, you know, committee members, and I know committee member and Councilman McDonald is on several rail authorities, and I know that, you know, there's a rail spur that goes right also to the port and to the base, and there's always been a lot of interest on my part about whether the rail, I don't know if the VCTC has discussed this or if this has been a topic lately, but I'm just really kind of concerned that I would have thought somehow the options for mobility would have increased rather than decreased. And so, and I don't know, even if some rail line were invested in, you were talking about landfills closing in the state of California, does that mean we're going to start shipping our trash out of the port?
The state's goal is to divert divert, and down the road, we see that number going higher, put less into a landfill.
Okay.
We can extrapolate that out to say that the end goal is to ensure that there are no more landfills, that we are reusing as much as possible. There's viable markets for items that we're not being pulling out of the trash right now. That's the end result. When we're going to get there is to be seen. I can tell you in Europe, especially Northern Europe, if it's the only thing that goes into a landfill are things like asbestos, or it's completely has no energy value or anything else to it. So they have a more advanced look, but they have the infrastructure to assure that. Even in Europe, they're allowed to burn waste, and through regulations and everything else, that's not an option here. So landfills will close eventually. I believe that the ones in California will probably be the first ones, and then we will have to look at further options, or options further away. That's when rail becomes more viable. We did also look at rail, because we have the spur there. We deal with the ports often selling our recycling materials. So we have taken a look at that, and it's a truck-based system. The infrastructure and I think it's modality is what they call it in the business, doesn't exist to make that efficient for us at this time. So we've looked at it for the waste component and also for our recyclables.
And two last questions. One is first about recycling, and I saw that somewhere on the report it was about this diminishing prospects for recycling, and my only understanding of that is that either the market's saturated, supply and demand's all out of whack, that there's too much supply and less demand, that China, where we formerly were shipping a lot of these recycled materials, has become far more selective, and so that the market for recyclables has gone down. So I guess this might even be a question for Committee Chairman Perello, whether the VRSD or any of these landfills offer any other alternatives. It just seems like we're closed in on the market when it comes to recyclables, and they were a real big component of the bottom line, generating revenue for the overall operation. So what can we do, and how would that interact with any one of these landfills? I just don't know.
Looking down the road for more viability of recyclables, we are in the stages of getting an RFP out to have for lack of a better word, a business plan, a resource management plan for the entire utility. So we'll look at that component in that separate function. But as far as viability for recyclables, the market has been shifted significantly, and people call it the China ban, but it's not just China. 2 weeks ago, Malaysia rejected, I think, 3 or 4 shiploads of material because it was contaminated. So we've been looking for markets in other countries in Asia. Those are the primary processors, but they're tightening up as well. So I see this problem getting much more challenging before it gets resolved. Personally, I think you look for local markets and regional markets, and we are looking at that through our planning processes.
Okay, and I know this kind of goes beyond the scope of what we're being asked, but I really wonder at what point these landfills, the VRSD and others, are coming up with maybe some other alternative ideas about recyclables and how those can be used. So the last question has to do with our lot that's right next door to the Del Norte facility. And it is true that I've promoted that lot as a possibility for temporarily housing the homeless, but the synergy of obviously something relevant to the Del Norte facility directly is the best use for that property. So I know that we're obviously contemplating options in green waste, et cetera. What is the longer-term prospect now that the state of California is mandating a lot of this organic recycling? What is the possibility of a biodigester, us even looking at that and then reducing further what we're sending to the landfill?
The possibilities are, there's several possibilities. As the technology improves, as earlier technologies are refined, the options get better for us as an agency. We are looking at all of those, and we are currently looking at discussing the very nature of organics processing with another entity at this point.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the report. Just like to state, I do serve on the Ventura Regional Sanitation District. I've just been elected the chair of the organization this year coming in. I appreciate the report. I do not want to talk on, and trust that my city attorney will keep me if I cross the line and get somewhere where I shouldn't be talking. Number one, starting right off the bat, on slide, and we keep it up there is fine, but on slide 7, we talked about we're looking to get a consultant to give us some things. Do we have to go out for bid? Is the consultant on board, or?
We would go through the procurement process to ensure that that is followed prior to bringing anybody on board. But what this process is, we're bringing it to the committee to let you know what you know, we're less than a year away now, what we're doing, and then there will be a step in the process where you would want an industry professional to look at that, what have other cities done, and maybe help us refine this even further.
The mayor brought up some good points. Yesterday in the LA Times, there's a big editorial. It's great. I'll get a copy of it for everybody. I didn't get it today. To China's credit, they have stopped being a dumping grounds for recyclables. And in my opinion, when the say the first world stops treating the third world as a dumping ground for all the waste, they're going to make the first world realize, what are we going to do with it? And the things that you've addressed. There's the opportunity to generate energy. There's the opportunity to use every bit that we can. And there's a lot of opportunities, but it gets down to cost. And we look for the cheapest. I look for the cheapest thing, that the least expensive, shall we say. The Tolan landfill, the Ventura Regional Sanitation District is searching and applying for a conditional use permit to expand the capacity of the Tolan landfill. The Tolan landfill has a life expectancy. When that life expectancy currently on the books expires, there's still going to be at least 25% capacity in the landfill. Because of the hardship of siting a brand new landfill in the county, they look at as being tremendously high level a high level to reach, a bar to reach. They're looking for a conditional use permit to expand it so we can get the rest of the trash in that area. One of the issues is the more that we recycle, the less trash can go into the area. And you need a certain amount of trash going into an area to make the organization a viable organization. We do not, my opinion, we do not want to be held hostage by one landfill. If we have an opportunity to have more than one landfill becomes a monopoly, and they set the price. You don't have an opportunity to go. That's why a one-horse town only has one grocery store. The prices are extremely high compared to a two-horse town with 2 grocery stores. The issues that has been expressed here is great, and I appreciate the very kind statements about, we want slide 7, and the city manager wanted to back up. We want to make sure that whoever signs off on these agreements, both parties know what is going on, and there's no questions down the road. He said, she said, they said, we said. Nobody knows what anybody said. We have to have that very clear, because spending money on legal suits doesn't help anybody. And the rail is another possibility. We're lucky we have it there. But one thing that is not talked about, when that train leaves somewhere, usually, because of economies, they like to have a lot of cars when they move the train. How long would any community allow a carload of garbage in a container that, unless it's something that it can't smell, the juices can't run out, nothing else, it impacts a neighborhood? Because having had the opportunity and the pleasure to work in a garbage truck for a period of time, there are some interesting things that happen when the weather warms up. And I support this. I'm grateful this has come to the board. I will keep you informed of what's going on at the sanitation district. I pledge to the residents of Oxnard, the city of Oxnard is not going to be taken for granted. The city of Oxnard gets a fair shake at the same table with everybody. And that's my comments. Do we have a recommendation on this? Receive and file? Okay. Okay. Any final comments? No? Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't know we had a general manager.
Oh, it's city manager.
I was just
City
demoted.
manager. Okay. Would the city manager like to make a comment? No? Okay.
No,
How about the
thank
city
you.
attorney? Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the item number 3, D3, purchase a new sewer cleaning vehicle. And the recommendation, please have staff read the recommendation. And thank you. And and I apologize, I don't know your name. Can you just identify yourself for the entire public that's watching this and me?
Committee Chair, Committee, I'm Ray Trevino, Wastewater Collections Manager. My presentation today is for the purchase of a new sewer cleaning vehicle, VACCON.
Microphone.
City manager, this gentleman was at the Via Marina, answered every question they answered. He didn't dance, and he answered straight up. I apologize, I didn't recognize you. You look different with a white shirt and tie.
Okay, thank you. Again, this presentation is for the purchase of a new VACCON sewer cleaning vehicle. The recommendation is that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommends City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a purchase order with municipal maintenance equipment for the purchase of a new VACCON sewer cleaning combination truck in the amount of $411,934.45. The wastewater division owns 3 sewer cleaning vehicles to clean 415 miles of pipe throughout the city's collection system. Sewer cleaning vehicles are used daily in the maintenance activity routine, allows the collection system to convey wastewater efficiently to the treatment plant. So in those 415 miles, that's the whole city. We typically do that every 2 years. So we do 200 miles every year, so the vehicle uses high pressure water to scour the lines, removing the material within those pipelines. We typically clean about 2,000 PSI at about 60 gallons of water per minute. The vehicle also removes solids and liquid material from the sewer manholes via high volume hose. Our performance goal is to clean a minimum of 200 miles of sewer pipe every year, nearly 4 miles every week. So we do 3 trucks at about 50,000 feet per truck per day in a perfect world. Requires 3 trucks, 6 personnel, 2 guys per truck, 2 collection operators that we have per vehicle. In December of last year, Fleet Services received a Sourcewell competitively solicited quote for the sewer cleaning vehicle. This will replace our oldest vehicle in the fleet. And, I'm sorry. Yes, this will replace our oldest vehicle in the fleet. The oldest vehicle is vehicle number 3219 is 1997 with 107,000 miles. Those are miles. Typically, the truck is running the whole time while it is parked at a manhole and the cleaning is being done. So it doesn't drive very much. So for a 22-year-old truck, 107,000 miles is not a lot of miles when you think about it. But it does have probably triple that amount in hours. The cost of repairs are just way more than the truck's even worth at this point. Because if the truck is so old, it's hard to find parts. We're having to have them fabricated or, find them somewhere else. And it's just costing more than, again, what the truck is probably worth. This is the oldest truck we have here. What they're doing is cleaning a sewer line right now, so it takes the 2 operators up at the front of the truck. The big black hose is the vacuum, so if they bring back a pile of debris, grit, and so forth, they would vacuum it out with that and transfer that back to the treatment plant. So again, this is just explaining that 2 operators needed for each truck. The cost of the new sewer cleaning vehicle is $411,934.45. Funds are budgeted in the fiscal year 2019-2020 and available to pay the full amount from the wastewater collection system machinery and equipment account number 611-6103-891-8606. This concludes my presentation, and I can take any questions.
Thank you very much. I have no speaker cards on this. Great. Councilman McDonald.
Thank you for the presentation. I mean, it's something that needs to be done, and the fact that you got Jeff Miller to wear a tie to this presentation, I say it's well worth it, so I'll support this. Okay.
I appreciate you bringing up the point about the miles on the truck and the hours, and sometimes people that don't understand, a piece of construction equipment gets a tremendous amount of wear and tear just doing the job, standing by idly and working. And the other thing that goes along with that, the age of the truck and the emissions controls and everything that's on is extremely expensive. I appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, ladies and gentlemen of the public, the city doesn't have options in situations like this. You cannot keep riding a horse that's on its last legs. You eventually put it out of its misery. Now,
Yes.
when we say we put it out of its misery, will we be keeping this in case of a backup if something comes in? We need a backup for a period of time, or will it be?
No, it'll go away, and we'll keep the other two that we have, and I believe that there's another one coming up in fiscal year in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay, thank you very much.
Second?
Beg your pardon? Okay. I would, okay. Well, the reason, I'd like a roll call vote. The reason is the VRSD, they have a policy that the past managers, if it's close to $500,000, he wants a roll call vote. I think it's a good idea. Roll call
Member
vote, please.
McDonald?
Yes.
Member Flynn?
Aye.
Chair Perrello?
Here, yes.
The motion carries 3-0.
We're pushing the lunch hour. That's fine. It's all good.
I'm hungry. Starving.
The next item on the agenda is item number 4, award agreement A-8204 to Kennedy Jenks Consultants Incorporated for construction management services for the Wainimi Road Recycled Water Pipeline Phase 2 project PW 1742. And can we have staff read the recommendation, please?
Yes, good morning, Chair and Committee. Tatiana Arnaud, City Engineer with Public Works, here to talk about the much-anticipated Wainimi Road Recycled Water Pipeline Phase 2 project, but more specifically related to the construction management services for that project. So the recommendation is that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommends City Council award and authorize the mayor to execute agreement A-8204 in the amount of $733,120 with Kennedy Jenks Consultants Incorporated for constructability review, construction management, observation, and inspection services for the Wainimi Road Recycled Water Pipeline Phase 2 project, PW 17-42, or otherwise known as project number 106002. So the next section of the Groundwater Recovery Enhancement and Treatment, or otherwise known as GREAT program, the recycled water pipeline is going to run along Wainimi Road from the end of the first phase, which was at Old Road, and then this will terminate over at Wood Road. The Phase 2 pipeline is to bring the recycled water to large ag customers on the east side of the Oxnard Plain. We are currently using a pipeline that's owned by Cayeguas, and the length of this new pipeline that we're trying to install is approximately 3 miles, and it'll be a size of 24 inches. So we will no longer have access to the Cayeguas line in the relatively near future because they're going to be using it for its original intended use, which is for brine discharge. So that's why we're moving forward on this guy now. The specific work for this contract includes constructability review, construction management, observation and inspection services, which will provide assurance that the construction is being performed in conformance with both the contract specifications as well as the standard specifications for public works construction, or otherwise known as the Green Book. We received 6 proposals total from qualified consultants, and we held interviews on June 17th of last year. City staff, consisting of the Assistant Public Works Director, City Engineer, and Wastewater Infrastructure Manager, evaluated the qualifications for all consultants and recommended Kennedy Jenks as the most qualified firm to satisfactorily provide these services for the project. There is currently $11.3 million available from the Wainimi Road Recycled Water Pipeline Phase 2 project, so this amount will be sufficient to cover this contract as a whole. That concludes this presentation. I can take any questions.
Thank you very much. I have no public speaker comments on this.
Just a couple of questions.
Councilman McDonald.
It seems like, and I'm not sure if it's still a factor or not, that we were having discussions with Oxnard Drainage District 1 and 2, and that there were some concerns on their part, and also some of the ranching families down there. Have we resolved all those issues, or is
Yes.
this beyond that point?
No, all those issues have been resolved. We have the permit from Oxnard Drainage District 2, and we are communicating with all of the ag customers in that area, and they're aware that we're trying to move forward with this, and they seem very pleased.
Okay. 'Cause I know there was one family that was being a little bit difficult. I don't want to mention their name or anything, but, so I'm just glad we've gotten all that resolved. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Thank you. I'm curious to know with Cayugas, I know that the use of this pipeline was temporary. When do they intend on taking it back? Or,
So it looks like it's December of 2020, so December of this year.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. And I know it was probably in the presentation, I just missed it. From the inception of this project to the very end, given, all circumstances, don't change or remain constant.
Right.
We should have this new line in place when?
So it would actually be closer to April of next year. However, in the meantime, we'll still keep the AWPF running because we anticipate the ASR well project to be completed before December of 2020.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's wonderful news.
Yeah,
That's
so you'll
wonderful
see
news.
that one coming soon as well.
And last question on that, because it is connected, you had just mentioned that. I'm just wondering, right now, I know the capacity with the AWPF, at 25% of its capacity is, I believe, 7,500 acre feet a year. Is that exactly what we're producing, 7,500 acre feet?
I'll let Tian answer this question.
Council, Mayor, the AWPF does have a capacity of produce 7,000 acre feet a year. So when those two programs starts, yes, we're expecting AWPF to run full-time.
I see. Thank you very much.
Question before you leave, Mr. What are we producing now? I think that was kind of his question.
When currently without the ASR injections, our demand is seasonal, meaning that right now, winter months, the raining months, the demand from the ag area and our industry isn't that high. But comes April all the way to November, we have 2 trains running full capacity.
Thank you. Thank you.
One
Actually,
quick
can
question.
we,
Mr.
I'm
Chair.
sorry, I want to get a more clear answer, but on average, what are we producing?
5,000?
I don't have the number with me for this year and last year. I think the year before, because since I have to report to the Bureau every year, I think last year, since we submitted that report, I think we were in the 3,000 range, 3,000. Yeah.
Another quick question. We're currently operating with 2 skids in there, correct?
That is correct.
And we have room for 2 more skids?
We have room for 2 to 3, depending on the,
So
you know,
potentially we
upgrades of
could
technologies.
double it to 14,000 acre feet per year if we get the equipment in there in the future, correct?
I would say that equipment, yes, you can produce, but the source water may be lagging. You probably could do up to maybe 12. After that, I think we're stretching it.
Okay.
It's the raw sources.
12 is better than
wastewater.
none, so,
Yes.
thank you.
The Olds Road to Wood Road line and the Cayugas is going to be taken back. And again, I want to bring this to public's attention. Miss Jackie Irwin was very instrumental in getting us with the regional water quality to get the original line in there. If you could just clarify it for me. They will be taking it back probably in December, and we will be ready to initiate it in April, our extension in April of the following year. There's not going to be any overlap in the same line because we're using different lines. Correct or wrong, or because I will get to my other thing.
Yeah.
Do we see enough business generated from us delivering water in that area to recover costs?
Yes. Well,
Council, on that Wainimi line, the business, the customer remain the same or may increase, is because, like I said, the last few years' behavior runs during the late spring and summer all the way to the fall. It's full capacity, or you have any more, they will take it.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Is the project, the extension, is this comes under the same, this is a prevailing wage job, prevailing wage construction job?
Yes, it's a public project.
Okay, that's my questions. Thank you very much. What is the recommendation?
Move the recommended item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Next item. The next item is approve AutoZone Parts Incorporated Agreement A-8149 for fleet services.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Joe Rodriguez. I'm the interim fleet services manager, and I'll be making the presentation today. Our recommendation is that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute Agreement A-8149 with AutoZone Parts Incorporated, commonly referred to as AutoZone, to provide off-site automotive parts, supplies, and services required by the Fleet Services Division for an amount not to exceed $4,600,000 and valid through November 30th, 2024. And ratify the change order to the existing AutoZone blanket purchase order 7155 for parts and supplies needed until Agreement A-8149 is approved by City Council. Fleet Services currently maintains and manages the city's 917 vehicle and equipment fleet, valued at over $42 million. This includes in-house preventive maintenance, comprehensive inspection, and light to heavy repairs. Fleet is also involved in the procurement process and disposition of city vehicles. Fleet staffs 28 full-time equivalent employees, 21 of whom are mechanics. AutoZone is an American retailer of aftermarket automotive parts and accessories, the largest in the United States. Founded in 1979, AutoZone has over 6,000 stores across the United States, Mexico, and Brazil. This agreement will support the operational requirements for an off-site parts provider by having a dedicated parts team and delivery service assigned to Fleet Services, eliminating monthly overhead costs for an on-site parts providing service, inventorying and storing of additional stock at the vendor's location, having a delivery time of 30 minutes for in-stock parts during regular business hours, and access to parts after hours for emergency use. AutoZone will be responsible for parts warranty processing when defective parts are identified by city staff. The city will have access to AutoZone's nationwide inventory distribution system that will reduce wait time for parts and shorten vehicle and equipment downtime associated with the parts necessary to do the repairs. City will also have take benefit of AutoZone's purchasing power as a national retail wholesale parts source, and those cost savings will be passed on to the city. The city will be participating agency in the Omnia Partners National IPA Cooperative Agreement R170201 that was competitively solicited on January 13, 2017. The cooperative extends to the city a 50% discount off AutoZone's published price list. The total value of the agreement has been estimated to be $4,600,000 through November 30th, 2024. In fiscal year 2019-2020, $350,000 has been allocated for this agreement. The Fleet Services account is sufficiently funded for this amount. In subsequent fiscal years, funds will be budgeted accordingly. That concludes this presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
I have no public speaker cards. Any comments? Nope. Okay, a couple of Thank you for the presentation. A couple of comments. On the purchase orders and things, this department audits itself that there are no purchases going for things other than what city parts are.
That's correct.
Okay. The issue of the warehousing of the parts, the area of the city's properties that the parts were being warehoused with a previous organization, what do we do with that area now?
Well, there's a small surplus of inventory from the previous vendor that is being used as needed.
Okay. Okay.
That area will eventually be repurposed for workspace or other functions within the city.
And with the enterprise item that we had a little earlier, there will be less and less need for AutoZone, more than likely, or just guesstimate?
It's anticipated that the demand for parts will decrease.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all my questions. Thank you again for the presentation. Do I have a recommendation?
Move the recommended item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No, none. Public Works Department award trade agreement A-8192 to PBC Commercial Cleaning Services Incorporated
Good afternoon.
for custodial services for the Oxnard Transit Center. And can the staff please read the recommendation? Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee chair, committee members. Brian Young is Assistant Public Works Director. We have a recommendation today that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommends City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a trade services agreement number A8192 with PBC Commercial Cleaning Systems, Inc., CCS, for a term of 3 years for a total contract value of $436,425 to provide custodial services at the Oxnard Transit Center located at 201 East 4th Street. February 28th, 2019, we sent out a request for bids for the OTC, received 2 responsive bids. In March 2019, we selected a bidder, which was JanPro. They were the lowest responsible and responsive bid. So on June 2019, the agreement was awarded by City Council, and JanPro began providing custodial services for the OTC. October 9th, 2019, JanPro submitted a written notice terminating their services that would be effective in November 2019 due to the city's living wage policy. So with the direction of the purchasing division, we went to the second lowest responsive bidder, which was CCS, and contacted them, and they honored their prices, and they honored the acceptance of providing custodial services for the OTC. Currently, Oxnard City Corps is providing these services. So once we get this contract finalized, we will then have this company take over. OTC operates 365 days a year, very busy location, heavily used. The building is open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. The original response had some clarifications as we went through the bid. CCS first bid was $30.82. It went from $33.80 after the clarification, and then request for clarification number 2 was to add approximately 34 outdoor trash receptacles and 6 recyclables, which brought the new amount for $34.97 for this new contract. CCS will provide full-service custodial for the OTC at a cost of $34.97 and an emergency cost, and as needed, $45. Staff is on site right now through the contract for 5 a.m. to noon and 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the weekdays, and on the weekends from 6 a.m. to noon and from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Through those hours, we'll adjust the hours to equivalent to 80 hours. That's what the contract's for. So, but those are the kind of times that we want custodial services to take place. Emergency cleaning services are provided as needed by the city. The total cost of this agreement is $436,425, which will be split accordingly between each fiscal years for the Oxnard Transit Center. So the anticipated cost for the remaining years will be requested in the budget process for 2021, 21, 22, and 22, 23. I'm going to go to the next slide that shows the table of how these fiscal years are broken down. And because we're starting already pretty much halfway through the fiscal year, so this year will be a little less than a full year with CCS. The OTC does not receive general fund revenue. Funding is from TDA funds, Fund 213. Again, this is the breakdown of each fiscal year. Obviously, we're in the middle of a fiscal year. As soon as we execute the contract, we're looking at 53,000, and then 2021, 21, 22 are full years, and then 22, 23 is a partial year for the total of the 436. That concludes the presentation. Available for any questions.
And I have no speaker cards. Any comments? No. Number one, I appreciate that that the city has gone back and looked at the issue with prevailing wage and having to redo the contract. If anybody's gonna work in the city of Oxnard, it's a straight up deal. There's no favoritism, and you're gonna be called, if you're not right, you're gonna be called on it. Thank you very much for that. The second question I have is, with respect to the trash, with respect to issues that have happened in the past with bathrooms in the transportation center, are there any recommendations that you have to possibly police it so we don't have any more problems with homeless getting in and thrashing a bathroom, which is what I've been told has happened in the past, which then has ramifications on the costs to us?
So Public Works recently took over the OTC July 1 of 2019, and putting together a list of several things that we're going to be making changes, and the restroom usage is one. For example, right now we have a lot of paper goods going in and out. We're probably replacing the paper goods and going with the hand dryer. So little things like that, we're trying to increase or have better usage from the people that are there. I'm also working with the security company to better police the OTC, as well as acknowledging people as they walk through the door. I'm still not satisfied at that point, but I'm continue to work with the security company regularly on their responsibilities for their security and monitoring the whole location of the OTC inside and outside.
I'm grateful to hear that, and thank you very much. I don't have any further questions. What is the recommendation?
And just a quick clarification, because you mentioned prevailing wage, but contracts for janitorial services normally are not covered by prevailing wage law. In this case, it was a living wage.
A living wage, correct?
That was the issue.
I misspoke. Do we have a recommendation?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Moving forward. And I apologize, I'm changing the rules of the road, and I apologize to the city clerk. I'm being extremely straight up on this. There are other agencies that sometimes when large amounts of money will be approved on an item, they will ask for a roll call. And I did get a zinger one time that, you guys don't seem to worry about who's voting for what on large contracts, and that's why I said that. But I do see the city clerk's point about the amount. We'll go forward with that. Stand. I was trying to make a stand, and feet are made of sand. Last item, number 7, award agreement A-8201 to Toro Enterprise for the cast iron pipe replacement project. And if we could have staff read the recommendation, please. And thank you.
Yeah,
City engineer again.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee, Tatiana Arnaud, City Engineer with Public Works. Here to present to you the award for the agreement number A-8201 to Toro Enterprises for the cast iron pipe replacement project. The recommendation is that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommends City Council, 1, award and authorize the mayor to execute agreement A-8201 in the amount of $4,643,679 for the Bryce Canyon North, South, and Fremont North neighborhood water cast iron pipe replacement project PW 19-94 with Toro Enterprises Incorporated, and 2, approve $464,368 as project contingency and another $325,058 for engineering inspection, survey, and project management for the Bryce Canyon North and South and Fremont North neighborhood water cast iron pipe replacement project. And lastly, 3, to approve a budget appropriation of $3,939,827 from the Water Operating Fund 601 for the Bryce Canyon North-South and Fremont North neighborhood water cast iron pipe replacement project numbers 183108 and 153117 respectively. So originally, the Bryce Canyon South resurfacing project number 183108 and then the Fremont North resurfacing project number 153117 included the cast iron pipe replacement, which we're going to basically replace it with PVC pipe. This was scheduled back in fiscal year 17-18. So this project has been delayed since then just due to lack of funding, mostly on the water side. So, and actually the street resurfacing, but the projects had poor response when we initially put this out to bid because the contract code requirements mandating that contractors sub out no more than 50% of the work. So for instance, we're just trying to make this a more competitive bid. So we ripped out all of the cast iron pipe replacement so that hopefully we get more contractors bidding on this so that we're getting better pricing, because otherwise we'd probably be limited to just Toro and Granite, who can supply both services for us. Kind of what I was speaking to right now. So we just limited the street resurfacing portion for this project to the work areas where the cast iron pipe is being replaced. The remaining street resurfacing project will be put out to bid when this project is nearing completion. So they'll come right behind them and get the streets in a nice new condition.
Can I?
Yes.
What do you envision as the window between the one ending, the second one starting, and then being able to complete the entire neighborhood in a street?
So what we're envisioning is that within a month of the completion of the cast iron pipe, we're coming right back behind that with the street resurfacing portion. We just want to make sure that the cast iron pipe contractor is out of the way completely before we bring somebody else in. We don't want them working on top of each other. That's how you get issues between the contractors.
When they do the cast iron pipe replacement and then they refinish the street and they pave it, will there be a separate contractor doing the second part of the project?
No.
Okay.
So it'll be the one and the same.
Thank you.
So this is being done in accordance with our cast iron pipe replacement program. The existing 6 to 10-inch cast iron water lines will be abandoned completely and replaced with approximately 18,000 feet of PVC, including the replacement of 440 one-inch water services with polyethylene pipe. In addition to that, we're replacing 30 fire hydrants, and then we're installing new water air vacs, blow-offs in the water line where we're replacing the cast iron pipe. So again, we are restoring the asphalt and concrete pavement in the work areas only. We are scheduled to begin next month and be done with this by April of this year. So we will be working closely with neighborhood councils, the residences, businesses, and others to inform and update all of them. There will also be door hangers hung at each of the residences that are going to be affected by this. So the bid was published on October 31st of last year with bids due December 4th. The lowest responsive bidder ended up being Toro in the amount of $4.6 million. We researched and verified all of their licenses, including the contractor's license, city business license, all of their DIR registrations, and made sure that they had no safety violations with OSHA. Toro has, as you know, worked on several city projects with us. We haven't had any issues with them, so we find them to be legally responsible, trustworthy, fit, and capable of completing this project. So the total project cost breakdown is $4.6 million for the base bid plus all the additive items, a construction contingency of $464,000, and then we're estimating about $325,000 for engineering inspection and project management for a total project cost of $5.4 million. The approval of this recommendation will appropriate $3.9 million from the Water Operating Fund, and the breakdown is shown on this table here. After this appropriation request, the projected fiscal year 1920 ending unassigned fund balance of the Water Operating Fund is $17.7 million. That concludes this presentation. I can take any questions.
I have no comments, no public speakers.
I just have a quick question. You were talking about the cast iron pipes. Those are 6 to 10 inches?
Yes.
And the replacement, what dimensions are those? I'm just curious.
So those also range from 6 to 10 inches, but we did run our models to make sure that we didn't need to upsize any pipes anywhere, because obviously now is the time to do that. So we took that into account.
I see. That really was at the core of why I asked that question. It's so, just with that anticipated flow in these areas, that's going to permanently be, in other words, I'm just thinking ahead, especially committee member McDonald's remarks, and it obviously wouldn't happen in the next couple of years, but talking about the fact that we do these underground replacements and then decide that for whatever reason, and it's usually utilities that do that, and then we have to repave the street, and then it's never the same. So, so there's no, I think in all the expansion, all the things that we've done, we've expanded everything. Why wouldn't we do it here?
So, I mean,
Capacity.
it's all about what the model shows, right? Depending on whatever flows are coming in, we're going to make sure that the pipe can take that capacity, and we make sure that we correlate this back to, say, the 2030 general plan. So what you'll find there for residential areas like this, we don't anticipate much more new flow coming through, but we do look at the transmission mains to make sure that, you know, any anticipated flow from new developments and things like that are being considered.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment. It seems like in the recent past, and to me the recent past is 10, 12 years, but that there was a litigation involving PVC piping that was later found to be hazardous to use in water systems. And supposedly we had used some of that piping, but we had no clue where it was at in our system. So I'm hoping that this time we'll probably keep a little better track of exactly what the contractor is using, where they're using it. And so if something like that were to come up again, we would be able to specifically state, we have those pipes here where they're at, and they need to replace them and stuff so that we don't have to dig up thousands of feet of street trying to figure out where this stuff went to.
Yeah, absolutely. We always have the inspectors check all the material before it's unloaded and installed in the ground.
Okay, and we're going to keep records of exactly what went where?
Oh, absolutely. They have the tickets.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Councilman McDonald brought up a good point, the deal about the pipe, because I do recall. We knew that we got a batch, but when they loaded the batch to the trucks taking it out, they dropped one off this truck here and then one several sections down. We didn't know where it was, and it cost, we looked, why we didn't know, we're going to know where these batches are.
Yes.
Okay. The second is, with respect to these streets and these cast iron pipes, and it says we're going to totally eliminate them, are we taking them out of the street, or are we just going to abandon them in the street and put a pipeline next to them?
So for these, we're abandoning in place.
Okay. I'm sure this neighborhood is looking forward to this improvement, and I support this totally. I recommend, do we?
Second?
Aye.
Do we have any recommendations for future items on the agenda?
Please no, just lunch.
Okay, the only one that I can think of is, again, I talked about it last time, a little bit of SCR3, whatever that's going on. And there is a neighborhood that, again, if we can have like a list out there where the streets are that we're going to be working on these next neighborhoods, a list that we highlight. That's all. And thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, council.